In the bustling streets of Seoul, where modern high-rises meet age-old hammocks, a young man named Jun found what seemed like the perfect apartment. Nestled within a neighborhood rich with history, his new home was a compact yet cozy establishment. The excitement of fresh beginnings, a fresh perspective, a canvas for new memories filled him with hope. Upon first entering the new abode, he noticed an unusual smell, a faint mustiness that seemed to cling to the air. Old plumbing, he reasoned, dismissing it with a wave. He imagined integrating into the bustling life of the city with ease, finding solitude within those four walls. One evening, as the rain played a rhythmic melody against the windows, Jun sat immersed in a book, buried under layers of heavy blankets. His reverie was suddenly broken by a strange sound. It resonated from the closet, a soft, almost imperceptible shift within the wooden frame. Dismissing it as structural creaks, he delved back into his fiction where ghouls were confined within ink and paper. Yet, each night, the unsettling noise persisted, soft whispers in the dark, igniting a sense of unease. Fatigue from sleepless nights piled up, and Jun's mind frequently wandered to the uneasiness of his closet. Finally, driven by both curiosity and growing dread, he decided it was time to confront the source of his discomfort. Grabbing a flashlight, he approached the closet, his heart drumming an erratic beat against his chest. To his horror, upon prying open a loose panel, he found the decomposed remains of a body wedged between the walls. As the authorities swarmed his once hopeful haven, Jun stood outside in the cold embrace of night, replaying the last few months. Seoul returned to its tempo. The future tenants, now warned by legend, learned to check their closets every night before drifting off, ensuring they were truly alone. It all began innocently enough. Lee Kyung-soo was a young professional, eager for a shift in his life. Growing weary of his monotonous job and stagnant social circle, he was thrilled when he moved into his new apartment in the bustling heart of Seoul. The apartment was ordinary, yet charming in its way, light streaming generously through large windows, wooden floors creaking with character, corners promising coziness and solitude. Everything was as he hoped, except for one unsettling detail: the smell. That stench was more than a nuisance. It wasn't just unpleasant, it was sinister, as though it carried a strange malevolence that clung to his senses long after the initial whiff. There in the perceived sanctuary of his home, the smell lingered like an unspoken threat. At first, Lee dismissed it, blaming his overactive imagination, or perhaps faulty plumbing. He'd humorously convince himself that he'd just been watching too many thriller dramas. Yet, night after night, the stench seemed to infiltrate his dreams with grotesque shadows. It wasn't long before Lee sought professional help, inviting repairmen accustomed to the quirks of aging buildings. However, as they pried and inspected, something about the air in the room seemed to stiffen, as if even the walls were in on a terrible secret they dared not divulge. Their work inevitably led them toward the built-in closet, the sour heart of the rot. A tension twisted through the air, and as they breached the closet's drywall, reality itself seemed to momentarily buckle under the weight of what lay beyond. "God," one worker murmured, his voice cracking as he stepped back, eyes widening in disbelief. Within the confines of the wall, decaying quietly in its dark sepulcher, lay a body. It was grotesque, once a human being, now a husk surrendering to time's cruel march. Lee's new beginning was smeared with the acrid stench of lingering death, and the apartment that was to be his refuge had turned into a grisly testament to an unknown tragedy. How the body ended up there, or what horrors it endured, were stories buried within its silent decomposition. Stories that, to his horror, Lee was perhaps unwittingly trapped within, as an unwilling character in a macabre play being enacted within his own home. Detective Park Hae-jin stood in the dim hallway of the dilapidated apartment building, his breath visible in the frigid air of a Korean winter, mingling with the haunting whispers that seemed to echo from the walls themselves. He shivered, his instincts prickling his skin like 1,000 icy needles, compelling him onwards. The case had been peculiar from the start. A missing person, reported weeks ago, had led him here, to an apartment that reeked of something foul and foreboding. Inside, the air was heavy, smothered by a sense of dread that clung to him persistently. Flicking on his torch, he glimpsed sight of overturned furniture, plates collecting mold, and a bed unmade for weeks. It was the stains on the walls that drew his attention, a memory of terror and despair that still seemed to seep from within the very structure. As they pried open the concealed wall panel, time seemed to halt, trapping the room in its suffocating grip. He imagined the killer, living day after day, pretending to exist normally while his victim remained close by, hidden but whispering in the killer's mind. It was then, amidst the stillness and silence, he thought he heard the low, layered whispers, like echoes from beyond. "I'm still here, the whispers breathed, and if he let himself dwell in the delirium long enough, he'd start to believe it too. The body had been wrapped in layers of plastic, neatly tucked within the walls, decomposing peacefully within its claustrophobic tomb, while the murderer had supposedly walked, laughed, and slept just a few feet away. Hae-jin turned, his tension coiling into his spine as the door behind him slammed shut with a chilling finality. The music of the world seemed to cut off abruptly, leaving only the cadence of his own thudding heart and the quiet whispers that wouldn't cease. It's not just the shadows that should frighten us, he thought. It's the silence that drags on, heavy as a malignant secret woven into the foundations of what we believe to be our homes. Moving into a new place should be a promise of safety, yet here, every creak, every unfamiliar scent was a reminder. A reminder that somewhere within these walls, something or someone dwelt alongside. The corpse in the closet was only the beginning, Hae-jin mused, knowing well that every case brought something new, something darker. This ends, but the next? It only gets more sinister, echoed the whisper, as the shadows deepened.